Okay,
What's happening?
did everyone get their drinks and popcorn ready? Because oh my god, you guys. Oh,
Are you
literally,
drinking a Celsius at 7:30 at night?
you know what? I was just gonna sip on it. I just wanted something.
She does what she wants and she looks good doing it.
And I'm not working tomorrow, but it's literally just exploded all over the desk.
So Jen, is this already episode 4?
Yes.
Crazy.
Episode 4 of Runtalk.
This is
And we
not
haven't gotten the kinks worked out yet.
This isn't very professional right now.
No, in this group, it wouldn't be the same if there wasn't at least one or two
Kelby,
things.
I
This
wore
is
my
all about
shirt.
entertaining people
I saw
here.
it. I love it.
Okay, you guys, fire away. Ask Kelby some questions. I need to get something to wipe this mess up real quick.
I have 2 ring lights going. I couldn't find more than that. So just to get them out of the way.
You still look great. So welcome everyone. Thanks for hopping on. And like we said, this is our 4th episode of Runtalk. And our special guest tonight is Kelby, as many know as LFK Trash Panda. So let's start off strong. And Kelby, can you tell us what your handle means exactly?
Okay,
Well,
wait,
so
wait,
LFK.
wait. Pause one
Yeah.
second. I just want to say one thing real quick, you guys. For anybody that's new, just make sure you're tapping the screen to give hearts. That pushes our live out. It lets all the other Run Talkers know that we're talking. Okay, sorry, go.
So I've lived in Lawrence, right, for 20 years, and Lawrence has had a theme, I think, for longer than that, of Lawrence fucking Kansas. So we're a baby blue county in a sea of red in Kansas, and it's sort of the motto of like, fuck everything, Lawrence is the best. So LFK is that part. It started out as Martian, and then as I began to talk, people would ask me about my nutrition as I'm going through running and working out, and my response was, I eat like a trash panda, and here we are today. I switched it and never looked back because I think it's either that or garbage disposal, but I think trash panda is a better thought.
I like Trash Panda.
I do too. It suits you.
Yeah. So that's what it is.
It's perfect.
Okay, so real question though. Real question. How many miles did you run today?
Yeah.
Just 6.5.
Just 6.5? I'm disappointed.
Just
Like
6.5.
Packers.
We got weather again.
Not the weather.
Well, yesterday I should have been outside yesterday, and I didn't. And I woke up this morning to a bunch of snow, and it was blowing and super cold. And I wussed out and stayed on the treadmill. And I know, Jen, you love your treadmill. It is such a drag on me these days to get on it and spend any kind of time. Like it's way harder. It's supposed to be -4 in the morning. I've already got my outfit laid out. I'm ready to go. I'm going outside tomorrow morning.
You know what? I will say this. I do love my treadmill, but we talked about this before, how having Peloton and the classes, and I literally talk to the instructors and, the history of that, getting to know the instructors and making friends, that makes it a little bit different for me. So that part of it, but I will say that at this current point, I prefer to be outside as well because the time passes. I got stuff to look at. I mean, but I'm making the best of it because we got a crap ton of snow, and yeah, I mean, I get it. I totally get that.
And
I get it.
Rob's trick I was like you got to do some sort of loop. Like I was wholly against like out and backs. I don't know why. Like I have no idea why. But this trick of like, if you run 5 out, you only have 5 back versus like running 10. So this like, I've been able, like a lot of these miles I've like piled up the last like 5 weeks have been out and backs where I'm like, hey, once I run 5, I only have 5 left. Or once I run 6, I only have 6 left. And it's made it so much easier to like just go out. And I literally will wind back through the path on the neighborhood that I did on the out. And then it makes the miles go by so much faster.
Let's talk about the miles because that's a big thing for you. Like you surpass every person that I know hands down when it comes to miles and miles ran. Like what are you at for the year right now? Can we talk about that first?
Well, I have my handy dandy spreadsheet up here.
We want to know
I
exactly.
thought I might get asked questions about it today. We are currently sitting at 410 miles for 2025.
Jesus.
So 9.5 per day, roughly, so far.
400. Okay, say it one more time. 411. Is that what you said?
Just over 410.
We all are just sitting with that for a minute. I think.
So what does that make your daily average?
9.5 for the year so far.
You're such a slacker. You could have been doing 10 miles a day and you did 9.5.
I know, right?
Come on,
Like you didn't
Kelby.
even go to an even number. Come
Do
on,
better.
So it started with I had no plans. I had no plans for January until like maybe day 3. Like I ran 16 on New Year's Day and then did like another 10, or like by the 3rd day I'd run my second half marathon distance for the year already. And so I was like, oh, let's see how long I can average 10 miles per day. And then kind of impromptu, as you guys know, I haven't been working. I started my new job this week. So I had tons of time to be on my feet. And then I kind of impromptu decided to do the Goggins 4x4x48 challenge, like the 12th or 13th. And by the time I was done with that was another 57 miles in like 44 hours. I was like, okay, I think I can hit 300 for the month. And my biggest month before that was like 245. And so I just kept grinding. And what was so interesting is my paces just kept getting faster with my heart rate staying the same the further along in the month I went. So there's been sort of this kind of plateau, I think, that I've been able to kind of break through where the body, because all of that, I was never sore, didn't get injured. So yeah, just I think that whole time on feet and then continuing to just kind of get after it, right, has made them go by.
Can we go back to like the beginning of your fitness journey? Like
Sure.
First of all, have you always been a runner? I'm curious to know, because I don't think I've ever really asked you questions like this. And how did we get to this point? Like how did we get to this? I mean, because honestly, Kelby, this is extreme. For most people can't fathom this. Like I'm sitting here like I ran 2 miles, woo! And you're sitting here like, oh shoot, I didn't hit 10. You know what I mean? Like talk about that.
Yeah, so before kids, I went to the gym occasionally. Like we had a gym membership. I worked out some. Didn't do cardio, just primarily strength train. And then our kids were born. They were 22 months apart. 2 in diapers. They were both challenging young kids, and kind of left any kind of like. So we were in survival mode for like the first 5 years, and so. In 2013, I got a job that had locker rooms in the building, and then a gym was a half a block away. And there was a bunch of us that started going over lunch. And that became really regular from that standpoint. And that kind of got me back into it. I was like, pounds. I hadn't done anything. I was just out of shape, like a out of shape 32-year-old dad, and was like, I need to do something different. So I always enjoyed going to the gym and lifting. I had a goal of like joining the 1,000-pound club, which is squat, bench, and deadlift. And I hit that. So I did a 385 deadlift, a 345 back squat, and a 285 bench press. And once I did that, I was like, okay, I'm lifting heavy can be painful. So fast forward to 2020, and I stopped going to the gym. Just like we got real conservative. We had an elliptical. I was doing elliptical quite a bit. And then the summer came of, I think, to 2021. And we were at my wife's hometown, which is super flat. Like the last time I ran 10 miles there, the elevation change was like 72 feet. So it's like, and that was because I went over an overpass. And so I went out that one time we were home there and accidentally ran 8 miles without like training or anything. I was like, oh, maybe I could signed up for a half marathon, and then did the Hal Higdon training plan, and ran my half marathon, and it was terrible. Like I came in, the results were fine. I did a 1:58, but I had not been sized for shoes. I was running a like Under Armour shoes that weighed, 3 pounds each. And I was like, oh, if this was what running is, then I'm done with this. I ran a half marathon. I'm done. Well, then like 6 weeks later, I went and got sized for actual running shoes. And then it's just sort of been off to the races, adding miles every year. So the 2022 was like, I don't know, 1,200 miles. 2023 is like 1,500 miles. 2024, no. Anyway, it was 1,100, 2,300 miles. Last year was 2,300 miles, like a big year last year. And so, yeah, just off to it. I know we talk about, I like the motivation of why today was run streak day 832, averaging. That's the average that I like to. It's almost 6 miles a day over the run streak average, like 5.9 something per day. And that's what gets me out the door, and then like getting after it. I don't know.
Talk about that though, like because you're on day 800 and what'd you say, 32?
32 or 33, yeah.
Of every single day, no matter what. Because there has to be a day in that stretch where you're like, I don't definitely want to do this. So talk about that and how are you getting yourself out to do it?
So I would say that there's not a day that I don't want to do it. There really isn't. I don't feel like that. I think there's days where I probably shouldn't have done it. Like I ran with like a chest cold or like, things where if it wasn't for the streak, I probably wouldn't have ran because of how I felt. But
growing up in a cornfield.
Hey, he ran that mile. He already ran that mile before he was sick.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, had I not like filled in for, was it Lindsay or Dan or whoever?
That might have been it, huh?
It was Dan.
Then the streak would have been over. But because I crossed over that I finished that mile at like 1 a.m., that counted for that day. But up until, it's funny, we talk about like streaks and just kind of things to keep you motivated, moving and those kind of things. That day was the first day that I had not walked at least 10,000 steps in like 1,500 days.
Wow.
That was the first day that I broke that streak.
Like, how many streaks do you have going right this second? Hold on.
Yeah, right? Like, everything's a streak.
The run streak, the lifting streak, step streak. I know you have a streak for your dog running now too. What else do you have?
Yeah, just it's the overall the step streak is gone. I mean, the workout streak, like total workout streak, and then the running streak are the two things that.
Your workout streak though is on how many days? It's in the thousands.
It is 1,691. What happened? How did that happen?
Somebody gave you a gift.
Coach sent you some sunglasses.
Yeah, we're Linz, we're 9 days away from 1,700 days.
It's wild.
That's amazing.
Okay. But I guess because as a person who has overcome a lot of struggle, I mean, is it literally the idea of like, I just can't let this go? I mean, when you say that and you said, there's days when I shouldn't have, because typically people do need to rest to recover. Like that is something that we want to make sure that we're talking about, that your case is not the norm. And I'm not saying that it's not acceptable for you. You do what you want, obviously.
Right.
But moving into that, like, there's never a moment in your brain that goes, I don't feel it right now. I mean, and how do you overcome that? Because that's the big struggle most people have and why they quit on themselves is because of that feeling and then not knowing how to push through that.
So I would say that like the running piece of it, the part that I think helps me the most is that I am still really dedicated to the gym and I'm really dedicated to the strength training. So like if I wake up the morning, like I kind of have an idea when I go to bed, like what I'm going to do the next day. And most days I do gym and run, even when I'm doing some of these longer runs. That's going to change now that I actually have to go to work every day. But the gym, like if I lift first, it's easier to go run. Because I think it's about like getting started doing something, right? Like getting out the door, doing something. And so I was thinking about this the other night coming into this conversation. There is no question in my mind, like tomorrow, like I'm going outside. Like I think it has become, I talk a lot about like it's hard. It's hard to start a routine, but it's really easy to stop it. Yeah. Right. But if you keep working to the point where like it's natural, like it's just natural to me to
it's
wake
almost
up.
like probably getting up and brushing your teeth. Like it's probably that level of normal to you at this point.
Yeah,
it's reached a part where it's harder to quit than it is to keep going.
100%. Like I've always been like a huge routine part of my personality is I like the routine of my day. And so that's why even the last like 3 months where I didn't have to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I still did. Like that's like what my routine is. And breaking that routine then causes me more, it doesn't feel right. And I'm definitely an AM. I know like people are afternoon versus morning. Now if I had to switch to like evening stuff, that would be really, really challenging. Like if my life maybe were like, no, you now have to do this like 2 hours before you go to bed versus like when you get up, that would be really, really hard. Like I was looking at Smash Run, that website that links all that stuff. I do 97% of my exercising before 8 a.m.
Wow.
Strava said I did most of mine last year after 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Which I mean makes night shift, like that's my 7 a.m.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, Jen. I think it's just been so long at this point that it's like it's ingrained really deep. Actually, Jenny and I were like, she was talking to me, my wife was talking to me about the run streak, and she's like, if I was in the hospital, like and you hadn't ran yet, would you like sneak out and go figure out how to run? And I was like, no. But then I was like, well, I mean, like if you didn't know I was gone, you know, like I mean,
you were napping, it's fine. I'll tell you, you need to rest.
As a recovered run streaker, I will say that I definitely had those thoughts like that when I was in the thick of it, and like, okay, at what point would I give up my run streak? Like what would be my line? And I remember this was like day 280 something of my run streak, and my best friend was getting married 5 hours away, and I had worked. I was on night 3 of work. I knew that I had to work all night long. I was only going to have a 2-hour window to sleep, and then I had to get in the car and drive myself to this wedding. And then I knew once I got there was like no chance to run. I carved out on the night before this on my break. I went and looked. I knew that there was a treadmill in the hospital somewhere. I went and found it the night before, so that I knew where it was. And then the next night when I had like literally my 25-minute break, I ran down there. I changed into my gym clothes really fast. I was like the resource nurse that night. So if anybody coded or anything, I had to like jump off the treadmill and go. But I like let the charge nurse know. I was like, listen, this is really important to me. I need 10 minutes. I just need 10 minutes to get the smile in. And I remember I was running on the treadmill and I was at like 0.85 miles and my phone rang and she was like, hey, we're about to intubate this kid. We really need you up here. And I was like, please, just 3 more minutes. So I was like sprinting, and then I quickly changed my clothes and got upstairs. But I was like, I am not letting this go. And I'm so glad I did it that day, like, at that time, because like really there was no other time. And that would have been it. Yeah. So I fully understand the like, you might be dying in the hospital and I'm going to run circles around the hospital.
And I think actually this losing the step streak last summer, it actually like in my head, like I'm going to keep this run streak alive for as long as I can. But losing that step streak last summer made me realize like, ultimately this doesn't matter, right? Like in the scheme of life, right? Like when I look back 10 years from now, 2 weeks from now, if I can't run tomorrow because something comes up with my family or work or whatever, Like, will I be a little bummed? Sure. But ultimately, it means diddly in the grand scheme, like, of life, right?
Well, let's talk about what keeps it going though. Like, does it have to be a mile? Like, was that a set thing in your head? Like, to keep my streak going, it has to be 1 mile at least, or is it like I just have to do something? So, a practice that I've adopted in my whole journey is I just want zero. I want no 0 days. So even if I only give 1% of effort, it's better than zero. And so like if I like literally I just walked right before this on the treadmill, power walked for 20 minutes, and that was all I did today. I don't even have 5,000 steps probably. And the thing is that like to me that's a 1 day. Like I've actually done at least 1 out of the 4 things that I say I'm going to do every day. So what does it look like for you with that streak? Like, does it have to be a mile? Like, what is that?
So the run streak, like I kind of went up. I mean, honestly, Linz, I started following you like right around when it started, like just a few days into it. And so, yeah, from a running standpoint, like the mile is sort of the bare minimum, right? To make it count. Prior to running, I needed at least like 30 minutes of an activity of some sort for me to count that day. So whether that was 30 minutes in the gym or 30 minutes out walking or something like that, I needed that sort of threshold for it to count. Like, you know, because it'd be easy to set the bar pretty low, especially when you're not running, to like count. So those are the kind of things where I set myself, where I let myself be okay and count that day. It's funny though, you talk about that, right? Like the thing that I love seeing in the community is that we all continue to challenge ourselves and draw motivation from each other, right? I mean, it's so funny. I look at these numbers. I'm like, these are huge numbers, right? You guys are telling me these huge numbers. I'm getting feedback that they're huge numbers, but I'm like, I'm kind of slow. Or like, I'm kind of, you know, I still have this like nagging little voice in my head of like, I need to do this to be a better runner. I need to do this, or I'm not really like at the level, but in my head, I'm like, I'm a 46-year-old, you know, dude, like you did 316 miles in January. What more do you want to ask of yourself to consider it, right? Because I was proud of it, but I didn't think of it as like, oh my God, this is a huge deal. So I think what that tells me is like, as human beings, we are nowhere near, like our minds keep us from being close to what our bodies can actually do. You know, Linz, I've heard you guys talk about it from your ultra training and things like that, and how getting in the right headspace and knowing that you can do it. I will tell you guys now, like, if I had time, I would do any race. Like I would try any. I'm at that confidence level, and maybe that's what I need to rely on. I would try anything out there. Like I am confident enough now, or naive enough to say like, let's go. Like I would, if I had the time and, you know, travel budget and all that stuff, like I would take on these big things, which 15 years ago, I got asked to run a 5K of a morning on a buddy's wedding. And I was like, I'm not running a 5K. Like, what are you talking about? You know? And you guys,
less than a half marathon.
Right. I mean, when you start to train, you start to get this point, like at this point, like a 5K is just when I start feeling like warmed up. Right. And you start feeling good and start moving at that point. So yeah, it's just like, how do you continue to find these levels to push yourself past and stay healthy? And I've been super blessed to not have injuries and not get sick and be able to just keep pushing really hard.
There's a really good comment and question it's more of a comment from Mark that says, why do you need to rest? This to me proves you don't. And there was also another question from Ashley a little earlier about your fueling and your, like, how you get your energy and nutrition. So I think you're a perfect example that does a run streak really well for a lot of reasons. And so I think you could touch on that a little bit, that because you're running some of your runs at a slower pace for you, you're not running all of these what are you at? 9.7 was it average for the year so far? You're not going out and running all of these as a hard run. And I think that some of us, like myself included, would have a tendency to probably abuse that. If I've done a run streak and it was not successful for me. And so I think that there's a fine balance between knowing your limits, and on the days you're running, you are essentially taking your modified version of a rest day, correct?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Even if I'm doing like 90 minutes on a relatively, I spend a lot of time in zone 2. Now I tweaked my heart rate zones on my Garmin, like kind of did some research kind of on, we talked about a little bit about this on Thread. I tweaked my heart rate thresholds, right? So my zone 2 is pretty wide. It's like 118 to 144. And then zone 3, 4, and 5 are sort of a little bit narrower. But I spend most of my time in zone 2, so in the 135 to 145 range. And then the days where I'll surprise myself and go out and run like, an 8:30 pace for like 8 miles and be able to like maintain a high zone 5 or zone 4 heart rate and feel good. I think I could probably maybe work a little bit more, but yeah, it's definitely like, I'm not out there like killing myself. On these long runs, it's a lot of miles. And I will say my VO2 max is trending up, even with a lot of these, like, all this time in the zone 2, zone 3.
Can you talk a little bit about like how do you each day you say, okay, I'm going to run. How do you determine what intensity level that's going to be?
I can usually tell like in the first mile, like what it's going to feel like. Like I don't go out with a plan. Like, so let's just say like I'm going to be somewhere north or south of 10-minute miles, like a minute, right? So most of my stuff is going to be between 9 and 11, right? Depending on my first mile, I'll be able to tell which way that's going to go. Like the other morning, I had no intention of running a negative split 5 miles, starting at an 8:40, working down to like an 8:10. No intention of doing that. But the first mile felt really good. I'm like, all right, let's just keep pushing it. So really that's, from a regimented training plan, I don't have one. I just go by feel. And then if it feels good, I'll push it. I had that with 8. I had it with 11 a few weeks ago where I was down around 9, sort of impromptu doing that.
It's amazing.
Are you training for anything specific?
The only thing I have on the calendar right now is Relay Iowa. I don't have any race on the book. I really want to, I'm trying to figure out my new work schedule and stuff to see if I can come out for the Chase the Moon. Is that what it's called? Chase the Moon in July.
Yep.
And then I don't think I'm going to be able to make Pikes Peak happen this year. But there's a couple, like Doug and I, and maybe Lauren, are you thinking about Salina? Maybe.
Definitely the half.
Yeah. So there's a marathon in the fall, but I'm far out from everything from a training plan standpoint. Chase your moon, Dan.
The comments have been cracking me up.
Yeah, I would like to read through some of the comments because everybody's been firing away with really good comments.
They've been good.
In the beginning, we were talking like Sticks was saying, typical people. This man is a special breed.
Jeff said he tweaked his knee instead of his training plan.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just funny. I think that's important for us to kind of talk about that too. Like you've really built a huge community of friends and like have gotten to know people and you really root for people right here on TikTok. And I think that's so cool because I feel like you guys know everything, every person that uses hashtag Runtalk. And I'm just like, I catch them when I do. And then you'll tell me about someone and I was like, oh, I got to go check that person out.
Jen, that's because you got big, like boom, like you literally just went overnight. It's so one day you were in Runtalk and the next day you were in Taylor Talk.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, I'm like here, like the weight loss part, the run part, this part. And so that part of it's, but this is why, like, this is the number one to me. Like, this is the reason that I keep pushing into this is because of the fact that these are my friends. Like, this is my group of people. This is, like this is what I live for. The other stuff is just extra fun. Like, it's just, and if it ever becomes something that's not fun, it's like, okay, I don't care about that. This is what, so like, but I want to talk about that because I think that's important. Like, this should be a reason that most people are here. And like, the fact that we support each other the way we do, it's never, ever is anything, like when Kelby's sharing like his runs, I never look at that and go, oh my gosh, like, I'm not adequate enough because I'm only running 11-minute miles for 2 miles at a time. I'm sitting here going, dude, that's freaking awesome. Like, that's crazy. So talk about that because you're very big at supporting everybody else that you see when you're doing all of these things. And I think that's an important, part of this.
Yeah, yes, 100%. I saw Doug's comment. I think so. I just want to talk about, Jen, I know you and I are newer connections than Linz and Lauren and stuff, but I remember being in Minneapolis a couple summers ago and reaching out to Doug because I knew he was from the area and like, Stacy was going through her stuff at the time, but we connected there, and then seeing Lauren on Relay Iowa from 2023, I'd be like, holy shit! How does one get involved in that? Like, I want to do that. Sounds awesome. And then, Linz, I mean, you've been so inspirational over and your posts are just like, they're genuine. Like, I mean, I think we all are, but like the one thing that I've always loved about yours is yours like, I don't give a F. Like, I'm posting this, like, it's super genuine. They're quirky.
He's unapologetically
yes,
Linz.
100%.
Oh, y'all are sweet.
So I try to like when I'm thinking, and I don't know about you guys. I think about Runtalk like constantly when I'm out on my runs. I think about the three of you. I think about, I think about, shit, there's too many names. Sarah, Jan, like, Jacob, like all of them. Like, I mean, I'm like, I think about, because I see these videos. I usually like, I'm drinking my coffee and I'm scrolling through my friend's feed, and then I get up and I go out for a run. And so I'm using all of that energy that I'm seeing right before I go to like feed myself and like, oh, they did this or they get new ideas. And I'm really bad about recording.
You better say sticks.
Kelby, who do you think about the most?
All right, I'll just say it. I've said it before. Sticks is the most underrated account on Runtalk.
I agree.
I don't know why he isn't like I agree. Hands down agree with that.
100%.
The content is 10 out of 10.
Running abilities, all of it.
I am bad about recording when I'm out running. Like I will be like, oh, I'm going to record this, this, and this. And then I listen to podcasts when I run. I like true crime type of stuff.
Runtalk.
And yes. And then I'm like, I get into it and then I'm like, oh, I'm done. I didn't record anything. So I'll do my little like run streak day, blah, 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 blah. And then like, call it quits type of thing. But there's so much good stuff out there like these days. Like people are being really creative with their posts and talk about, it's super fun to see all this happening and draw that motivation from.
Yeah.
I find myself logging in.
There's such a wide variety of new runners, long-time runners, people who only want to run 5Ks or maybe are like track runners, all the way up to like, you guys doing the 100-milers, like Lindsay, Dan, Andrea. It's really, there's something for everybody on it.
I just find myself logging in like at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. And I really, most of the time spend my time in the friends tab. Mm-hmm. And I love like I know right now Sarah's doing the calendar challenge, and like I find myself every day. Did she do it today? Did she do her miles today? Like I go in and I'm like really invested in Runtalk's like
factor. Yeah.
Yes, I really am. Like I post because I enjoy sharing like what I'm doing, and it keeps me accountable and it gives me something fun to do. But I genuinely love logging on and seeing like the never miss a Monday. Whether I participate or not, I live for Mondays. I just love the energy on Mondays, the community on Mondays. I live for it.
Kelby, I have a question for you, sort of. It's also kind of a suggestion. I know it's been discussed briefly about, so have you having just completed the Goggins challenge or whatever you completed, since you did a lot more than you needed to technically. Yeah. We can call it like the Trash Panda challenge. But basically, I know we've talked. Is that something you would help maybe promote or help? I can certainly help as well. And I'm sure we all would be happy to discuss it. But organizing like an informal Runtalk Goggins challenge that people can participate in if they'd like.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you speak to people who are on that maybe aren't familiar with the Goggins challenge and what that entails?
Yeah. So we'll start with assuming everyone knows who David Goggins is. He creates these crazy challenges. He does all these like crazy long rucks and long runs.
I mean, his backstory is that he was overweight. He was significantly overweight and lost a lot of weight and became a Navy SEAL. Like, that's his backstory.
So maybe I don't know David Goggins.
Yeah. That's who he is. He actually went through SEAL training. I believe he did it more than once, and he is a Navy SEAL. Like, so that's that. And then the motivation that came from it, and then his drive just to keep going. Like, he resonates with all kinds of people, you know, because not only is he majorly badass, but like he literally overcame a significant amount of weight loss. And then, so anyway, that's that. But yes, go on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like steal your thunder.
No, that's helpful. So the 4x4x48 challenge is you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And as Lauren said, I'm like, I'm not going to be that close to like 2 marathons and not just like go ahead and figure out how to do that. So, I did just under 57 miles in 44 hours.
Just an extra 9 miles.
Yeah. So I really encourage people to, if they want to try it, figure out, I've done it on the weekend, a long weekend. Try to communicate to your family as much as possible that you're not really going to be super available. For me to get by with it, I had to like make myself, so I picked a start time that aligned with like kid pickup and drop off because I did mine during the week. So I started at 5 a.m. So I did it 5 a.m., 9 a.m., 1 p.m., around the clock. So I finished my last run I started on Monday morning at 5 a.m. So I finished my last run at around 1 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And the miles are what they are. Like, I think if you're going to take it on, you're probably comfortable running at least 4 miles from that standpoint. So the miles aren't necessarily hard because they don't have to be fast. The faster you do them, the more time you have to rest. It's really more of a sleep and fueling challenge. I think I slept about 7 hours maybe, and the longest was like 90 minutes from that standpoint. And then like with most ultra stuff, keeping up on calories was really challenging because I think I burned a total of like close to 8,000 calories in those 44 hours. And so just consuming that amount of food was really hard. 2 years ago, I did it all on the treadmill.
Ooh.
I did.
Even me, I was like, oh goodness.
It was the weekend where it was like -40. Like it was literally, I was like,
unsafe. Yeah.
I'm not going out. So I did it all on the treadmill. This last year I did 9 of the 12 runs outside. The deal I made with Jenny was I had to do the 1 a.m. runs on the treadmill because she didn't want to be asleep in the middle of the night and have me out running around the neighborhood.
That's fair.
So I compromised that one. And then there was one other one. I don't remember why I ran the other one on the treadmill. But yeah, it's fun, right? And the other thing, if you start it and you get like 24 hours in and you're like, this is not, I mean, we're not making a living of this. We're not like, you're only competing with yourself. Right. And so, I think everybody on here that I follow could absolutely, they're totally in shape enough to do it. It's more like we talked about earlier, the mindset of being able to like crawl out of bed at 1 a.m., and when you just laid down 90 minutes before that, and get your shoes back on and get out there. And the laundry is just massive amounts of laundry.
I think I would just sleep in my sweaty clothes and then get up and just keep running. I think that's what I would just stay.
I did not talk about this, but I did not shower for like 24 hours.
Right. What's the point?
And it like, yeah, Jenny was like, "Oh my God." Just
At least it was cold out. I mean, at least you weren't running in like 80-degree heat and getting
That's
grilled.
true. Yeah, that's
Don't
true.
even try that.
You smell like a runner.
What if since it can be challenging for people's work schedules and just life in general to have like a very specific 48 hours, but what if we had we pick an entire week in May to do a designated like Runtalk Goggins challenge that people can, virtual obviously, that people can choose to participate in and document their experience? Would there be anybody in the comments or in the watching, would there be any interest?
I know
I for sure am in.
Sarah's done it before.
I mean, and it could even be a modification where it doesn't have to be 4 miles every 4 hours. You could do 2 miles every 6 hours or something. I mean, just to be able to challenge yourself, like set it for yourself. Like, I don't know, maybe
Where we do a half, you could do a half version as well.
Yeah, just because there are some newer runners that would want to participate, but might not. I mean, it's definitely something to talk about and put out there.
Doug has spoken. No, has to be 4.
Okay, fine. Has to be 4.
All right, Sarah's
I'm in. I want to do it. I've always wanted to do it and have never really jumped on it.
Well, it sounds like we have enough interest just from this. So
Yeah.
good. Mark is in. Awesome. Good deal.
Let's talk about fueling, though.
Yeah. Okay.
As
You are the trash panda.
talk about that. Like, let's talk about what your fueling looks like. Like, trash panda means you're probably not using a lot of Morton gels, or are you?
Pop-Tarts.
So I would say 90% of my daily workouts are fasted. Like, I don't eat until I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I eat a lot in between when I'm done and then the next one. I don't track it often. When I do track my calories, just to get a sense of like how much I'm actually eating, it's between 4,500 and 5,500 a day. So we really clean as a family. Like tonight it was a vegetarian couscous with like Caesar salad. And so that's like our family meals are pretty clean, but our pantry is always stocked with like, I'm because of me, like Cocoa Pebbles and Pop-Tarts and like, I mean, chips and just a bunch of junk food. And so part of the hardest training for the 50 miler for me was actually getting used to being able to have food on board, because I do run and lift fasted. Like my long workout days where I'll burn, say like 1,700 to 2,500 calories. That's all fasted. And then I'll eat after that. So training for an ultra where I know I actually need to eat was really hard to get used to having like food on board. I've never been a big, like the stuff you can buy at the running store. I think Linz, I'd probably thank you a lot for like, the fueling of when you're out, like you really just need like those carbs, that sugar stuff. So like however you're getting them, whatever tastes good, sets with your stomach. Rice Krispie treats are like my go-to from my standpoint. Like, I like the gummy clusters some, but I find my mouth gets really like coated with and then I want to drink more. I don't, but the Rice
You
Krispie,
probably should drink more.
Yeah.
I'll talk about fluid here in a second, but I think the Rice Krispie treats and I have the thing that have been like when I'm out on my long runs that really do help.
And that's perfect. You found something that works for you that you enjoy.
And they've got like, Lauren, I know you gave some advice like on how many carbs per hour you should eat. Like you can have, I think it's 3 or 4 of those every hour, and that keeps me right in the like right carb range for what. So I know what I'm eating, and I know they set well, so that works.
Yep.
I know that there's a lot there. I haven't seen anybody get shamed for wearing a pack or carrying a water bottle for how short or long their run is. I think it's weird that people would even give a shit what other people are doing with their fueling or hydration.
I agree.
Totally
I don't know why anybody wastes any energy on caring what other people do, period, but that's a whole other topic.
I don't like carrying water with me, but I talked about this with Sticks. So I've started chewing gum when I run because I found I wasn't actually like thirsty as much as my mouth just got like dry. And so like having something to chew on, just like a standard piece of spearmint gum. And so I don't really carry fluid. Now, come the summer, I'll have to just because you'll sweat too much to not have some liquid. But so I've been running chewing gum the last since it's been cooler, and don't carry liquid with me. Even on these like 15-mile runs, I won't take. I'll leave the house with nothing, just a piece of gum and my phone and earbuds.
You're simple. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we want to know what you do. We don't want to know what people think is the right thing. We just want to know what you do.
So that's what I do. I've got a little, from a fueling standpoint or water standpoint, I've got a handheld that's nice that I carry when I need water. I try to stay away from the vest as much as possible just because I don't like the way it feels when I'm running. And I got a really nice one. Like I reached out to Andrea Moore for her recommendations, and I got the one that she wears, and it is great. Like you can pack a bunch of stuff in it and it carries well. I just don't like messing with it. Yeah. I will say the one thing I want to say, I see so many people talking about being lit up, how to light, invest in the Nox gear. Like quit messing around with like the $35 version of it or whatever. Just get the Nox gear. It works perfectly. And the front, Lauren, did you get a front lamp?
I haven't yet. I haven't been doing as much night running lately, honestly.
So spend it. I think it's $80 for both of them. I know that's a decent amount of money, but they are cars absolutely see you because I do most of my running in the dark. They 100% see you with that on versus like any other thing I've ever tried before.
And Nox gear, the battery life is so good. I mean, the amount of times you have to charge it is minimal. It's so good.
And it's good for you to see. That's something I haven't invested in yet. I have like lights that hook on my flip belt, and those work okay. And I haven't done a ton of like night, but I was training for a marathon, early morning runs, and those worked well enough for the time that I was out. But I know I need to invest in some for Relay Iowa, and I'm going to do Nox gear. But I just wondered how bright it was so that I can see. Like
yeah, the chest lamp. Because people ask me if I like that over the like a headlamp. I have yet to find a headlamp that I like running in.
Yeah, because it's like
they are bouncing around and stuff like that. The chest lamp has a really wide view, and you can it's kind of pivots in there, and so you can point it up or down, you can pop it off. Like it's got a clip that it sets in. I don't know if anybody else has one, but you can like pop it off and pop it back on at will. And the thing, like if I see a car coming at me, I'll grab it and like shake it. So there's like this bright light that's like flashing at the car. Yeah, 100%. Like I probably spent more trying the cheaper versions than just buying the Nox gear out of the gate. And like Lauren said, the battery life is long and it will start flashing red and give you a long time of flashing red. But that's when you know you need to charge it before. So yeah, it's a solid investment.
Okay, cool.
So Kelby, what running advice would you like? What's the best piece of running advice that you've ever heard, or advice that you have that you would like to share with other runners?
So I'm going to give the broken record one, but the first one is like, if you're just getting started or you're newer, go to a running store for your shoes and do that until you're comfortable in knowing what you're buying. I did that for the first probably year. And now, now I've got a wall of, 17 pairs of shoes hanging on it, all different styles and stuff. That's the one thing that really propelled. I don't think I would be here today had I not gone down to my running store and bought a pair. Nice, Rob. That's a good point. That's a fair point.
And Doug says, just be sure you buy Brooks.
I'm a Saucony fan. That's my preferred brand.
First of all, what Kelby said was exactly right. You need to go and figure out what works for your feet because everybody's so different. Just because I am Team Brooks and Lauren and Lindsay are Team Brooks doesn't mean that everybody's Team Brooks. And it is important that you do what works for you.
And one pro tip is like, if budget is an issue, it's okay to buy older versions of a shoe.
Sure,
a lot of people, like, you can save so much money buying discontinued versions that are brand new. There's no shame in that. You don't have to have the latest and greatest model.
100%.
I mean, and look for deals. Like, there's always deals. Like, I know our shoe store, we have like one shoe store that sells like higher end running shoes, and they once a year they'll do like a 25% off running shoes or whatever. So like wait and buy them then if that's what you need.
I would also say too, check your local running stores versus buying the shoes like on the website. Like if you're a Saucony person or a Brooks person or whatever, check your local running stores first before you buy on the website, because a lot of these local running stores have like point systems and things like that. So the more you buy, you can get like $15 back or $20 back, or there's birthday coupons, things like that too, before you just go and buy it on the website. Go to the running store first and see what kind of deals they have.
Yeah, and I will say that as a Brooks person, they do have a program on their website where you can do that also, and they do send you coupons and you get free shipping if you sign up for it. Like there's just a bunch of different things. So like dig into it a little bit. Go get fitted and then look for the deals. Like there's always ways around.
Ryan says, what if you don't have a local running store? Well, then you're just gonna have to get in your car and drive to the big city, boy.
That's a problem too. And I think that, go figure out what it is, go to a run store, try them on, and then go home and order.
Or even Amazon does, like try before you buy kind of stuff too. You can order the whatever shoes you want, get them shipped to your house. You get 7 days to run in them, try them out, see if you like them, before you even have to pay for them. And then you just send them back if you don't like them.
And not to plug Brooks one more time, but I am going to, because you guys, I can't help it, first of all, and neither can you guys. But they have, through their website, if you order Brooks, they have a 90-day like it or return it policy. So you can wear those shoes for seriously 89 days and be like, oh, I hate these. Send them back to them worn, and they're no questions asked. They refund them. That is part of how they operate. I love that about that company. That is one thing, because that just goes to show that they really do want you to be comfortable in what you're wearing.
Right.
And they stand by their product. If you have a weird issue where there's a defect as well, if there's a fluke issue, and I'll also add to that it's also free shipping to return them back.
Yeah. So I'm not intentionally sitting here plugging Brooks, but I will say those things are factual. Those are real life issues. I just read a gal on Instagram. She was so excited because she had a defect with one of her shoes, and they sent her the new version of the shoe without charging her anything, because they didn't want that to be the case for her. So anyway, I'm always going to be Team Brooks. That's how I am. I have been from the start, but that's not everybody.
Ryan, I do not mean for you to drive 2 hours to get shoes. I do like Jeff's plan of just going to the vet, let them check you. That's fine. That works too.
So the last thing I want to plug. The last thing I'll plug, Lauren, from an advice standpoint is, I know not everybody would have access to this, but one thing that really helped me is I went and got an actual running assessment done in 2022 at the orthopedic office, or the ortho surgeon office here in town. They have a program called Run Strong, and it's to try to get people into running and help them do it and help them stay healthy. So I did it in 2022, and then I did it again in 2024. And when I went in 2022, they're like, my cadence was way too low. My stride length was way too long. I had the thing that they pointed out for me, I had a bunch of imbalances like left to right and strength. They gave me like flexibility type things to work on. And once I started incorporating those into my workout, like those little nagging injuries, those things that were like hurting me, those just kind of melted away. And so it was a really, if you have somewhere you can do that, you have an option to get that done, highly recommend it. The one tip that they gave me, if you struggle with cadence, so I try to keep my cadence between 175 and 180 when I'm running. And if you're musically inclined, there's tons of 180 beat per minute playlists out there. And when I put one of those on, my cadence just naturally settles in to 180 beats per minute. So, and the idea behind that is that is a cadence where it keeps your body in line. So like when your feet are landing, like everything's over the top, you're not reaching or short stepping. That helped a ton. And then the last like obvious one that everybody says, slow down, take walk breaks. Like I talked about this on a video last week. Even if I'm out on like a hard run and I feel like I'm not going to be able to sustain this for like what I want to do, like I'll walk for like 30 seconds, 20 seconds. And it's amazing just with that little
reset.
And then it's like the heart rate comes down just enough to like reset and settle back in to the pace you want to do. And ultimately like your average pace at the end is going to be faster if you just like do that little blip reset. I mean, that's what works for me.
Thank you. Those are all really great
all
tips.
Great advice.
And the one about getting your stride evaluated by professionals, that's one that's not talked about. So that was a really good one.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. Like we've got a really cool like opportunity here to do. I mean, I've got like I've started going there because I'm missing part of my meniscus in my right knee, and I used to get cortisone shots and all that stuff in that knee. But since I've incorporated the strength training, I got the assessment done. Like I don't have the pain there that I used to. So
I think that's great though, because so many people will say little things like, well, don't your knees hurt? And doesn't this hurt? And doesn't that hurt? And it's like, okay, well, to learn why those things are happening is important. Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, they hurt and then not try to fix it.
I think, and I know we're at time, but I think there's a difference between running injured and running hurt, right? Like, I mean, things can hurt. Like you're gonna hurt.
Running
like,
sore, yeah.
Like there's gonna be. It's uncomfortable. Like it's not, But the difference between that and going out injured is where people can get themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
I think that's something you got to pay attention to.
You can't like work your way out of an injury by running through it in 99% of the injuries. If it's a true injury, that's for sure.
And we all know what injury versus sore feels like. And then they're different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Well, Kelby, thank you so much for doing this with us, because I think it was really insightful to hear from like a mega runner. Like the mileage is insane. It's crazy. We're excited to keep watching you do this.
But not only that, like in addition to just being an amazing person from like a physical performance standpoint, you're just such a wonderful, supportive human being as well. And Runtalk would not be Runtalk without you on here.
No, it wouldn't.
Thank you, Lauren. That's
And I'm really looking forward to Iowa. Again, this time.
No norovirus.
I am so excited. I hope Runtalk just continues to grow, and we gotta like just continue to recruit people to like continue to build out teams. Like I'm so excited that there's gonna be 2 teams this year. I mean, it's gonna be amazing. And after last year,
a cheer at home too. Like I love that about it. Like I literally I'm like, everybody's coming to my house. Like it's just cool. Like I love it.
It's gonna be so much fun. Okay.
All right, guys. I think we're up. We're actually 3 minutes over. We will be dropping our episode 3 with Andrea right now. I believe it's dropping on YouTube, and we have Spotify, Amazon Podcasts. I believe we're working on Apple Podcasts as well. Our producer is still working on that one. You can catch
Rob.
us here again next week at the same time. If it changes for some crazy reason, like Lindsay's schedule, then we will make sure to let you know with plenty of advance time, and we will be sharing who our next guest is very soon. Kelby, thank you for doing this with us. It is such a great pleasure to have you here, and we love it. Love everything about it.
Thank you guys. Love you guys
Keep up
too.
the amazing work, Kelby.
Thank you guys.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.